All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to March's session of QB Talks. I am Cheska Cordero from Insightful Accountant and your host for today. Now, before we actually start, I'd like to go ahead and ask our question of the day just so that everybody's kind of coming in and settling down in front of their computers, their phones, or tablets, whatever you guys have. Okay, so you guys can answer a question of the day too if you want. Okay, so Alicia, I
Yeah.
know a lot of us are guilty of using our phones a lot throughout the day because everything's on there, basically. Like back in the day, it was just a phone, call, text, whatever. That was it. But since we have everything, I'm guilty of using my phone for everything as well. Okay, so my question of the day is, if you had to delete all but 5 apps on your phone right now,
Mm.
what apps would you keep?
I would definitely keep Facebook because that's the only way I keep in touch with the outer world.
Yes.
QuickBooks app for obvious reasons because I always take pictures of my receipts with my app. My Camo app, which is actually I'm using my iPhone as my camera right now, and so Camo is an app that allows me to use my phone as my camera. And Harry Potter Hogwarts Mystery, which I've been playing now for like 6 years, and the game never ends, so I can't.
Fantastic.
And I would say Wordle is my other one. What I actually did is I took the Wordle website, and there's an option to save it on your home screen, and so I have now an app that's really just a bookmark to the Wordle website on New York Times. So those are my 5 essentials.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, Facebook really it's kind of essential nowadays, just with family, friends, everything is going on in the world too. All
Yeah.
right. All right. Good afternoon again, everyone, and welcome to March's QB Talks. Again, I'm Jessica Cordero from Insightful Accountant. And this QB Talks, we're going to be talking about revenue recognition in QBO with the wonderful Alicia Katz Pollock, with a very special guest today, Senior Product Manager at Intuit, Likith Lanka. Now, I'll hand this over to Alicia in just a little bit after I cover a few of the housekeeping items. Now, CPE is being offered for this session, and you have to be in the session for 50 minutes, and you must answer at least 3 of the poll questions we'll be having up today. Now, if you have any questions, please enter them in the Q&A panel, and I want you guys to be specific. You know the drill. Don't just say what you mean. You got to ask, hey, Alicia, what did you mean by dot, dot, dot? Mainly because she might not get to your question right after you put it in there, and also be sending you a copy of the slide deck and a link to the recording after the webinar. And it's also going to be up on our YouTube page within about 24 hours. And if you want to go check it out over there, along with many other webinars that we've done in the past that might be of interest to you. I'll also be putting all those links to our YouTube channel into our chat. And do not forget that we have many webinars for you every month, whether you're interested in practice management, marketing, everything tax, or all things QuickBooks, just like this. Insightful Accountants got something for you. Now, you can check out all of our webinars that are available to you over on the educational webinars page on our site. And do not worry, I'll also be putting that link into our chat. And if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, join the tens of thousands of accounting professionals who rely on Insightful Accountant to keep them up to date on the news and updates impacting today's accounting professional. Now, I will be rolling out all those links and the copy of the slide deck throughout the webinar in case you might have missed it the first time I put it in there. And do not forget to answer the post webinar survey that will pop up after the webinar so that we over at Insightful Accountant can further improve our webinars and really give you guys what you want. Okay, actually, that's it for me. Alicia, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, Cheska, thank you for all you and Insightful Accountant do. It's just one of my favorite places to learn about QBO myself. So welcome everybody to the March edition of QB Talks. And today we're going to talk about revenue recognition, which is a feature in QuickBooks Online Advanced, specifically about deferred revenue. So we're going to break it all down for you. A little bit about me while everybody's getting warmed up. My name is Alicia Katz Pollock, and I'm the co-host of the unofficial QuickBooks Accountants podcast with Hector Garcia. I'm top 50 women in accounting from Ignition in 2023. I'm Insightful Accountants top 10 pro advisor back in 2021. I'm a member of the Intuit Trainer Writer Network. And what I do in my practice is I provide QuickBooks Online training, whether it's webinars like this one or on-demand courses, or even custom portals for accounting firms to take control of their own training for their staff and for their clients. and you get CP with all of that. I also am an author. All right, so that's about me. And I also have with me Likith Lanka. Likith, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hey, I'm Likith. I'm the product manager at QuickBooks right now, working on advanced accounting features. One of them is revenue recognition. And prior to that, I worked at various companies trying to build or improve the financial systems. Most recent one was Twitter, Comcast, and also Kellogg Brown and Root on construction and some finance companies for the last 15 years. So I was primarily focusing on dimensionality and budgeting and planning. But of course, I worked on the full life cycle of the financial close.
All right, excellent. Well, thanks for coming. I've been working a lot with Keith to help dial in the revenue recognition features. And so when we decided to make that this week's topic or this month's topic, I was really excited that he could join us. So he will be doing the Q&A as we present today. All right, so let's actually start it off with a poll. Cheska, can you do us the honors? So you do need to take your polls for CPE credit. Oh, is it coming? There it is. Okay, so let us know, does your practice use just QuickBooks Online? Are you QuickBooks Desktop only? Do you a mix of both? Or have you been mostly QuickBooks Desktop, but you're beginning the transition to be QBO centric? So let us know where you stand. One of the reasons for this question is because I want to make sure that the topics that we choose for QB Talks all represent the things that you need to learn about. So go ahead and take a moment and let us know how your practice, what the focus of your practice. Okay, so everybody should be looking at their screen right now for a poll that pops up. If you're on a device like an iPhone, you might need to swipe left or right in order to see the poll, or take yourself out of full screen. So hopefully you can find it and answer, and then we'll start diving into all the good stuff.
Yeah, I'll give it 10 more seconds. I'll count it down for you guys.
Okay.
10, 9, 8. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
All right. Do we get to see the result on that? Okay, mostly a mix of both. We're about 30% just QBO. We've got still about 10% that are desktop only. A mix of both is the majority, and there's some of you who have been QuickBooks Desktop, but you know where Intuit's going, and so you're making the switch. Okay, excellent. That will help guide us in the future. Thank you. Okay, now before we dive into revenue recognition, we have a sponsor who's going to show us about their software, Fanatical Software. So I'm actually going to bring up Chris Meyer. Chris, can you tell us all about Fanatical?
Thank you, Alicia. I'm just going to quickly run through, and thank you for spending the time here today, with you and with the team, and Likith, good meeting here as well, and thank you very much to Insightful Accountant. And so I'm just going to take a couple of minutes here and just quickly share about just Fanatical Software. So what we really are focused on is making your QBO data alive in Microsoft Excel. So we're essentially, just focused on Excel and operate as an Excel add-in to QBO. And we've got investors. Born Capital is our leading tech and other leading tech investors. We're based here out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The accent's originally South African, so but I'm very much a Steelers supporter. And we're thankful to Intuit. We're a Intuit development partner, and also with Microsoft as well. We focused on reporting. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff we can do in QBO, but most of it is as soon as one also use browser-based applications, there are a couple of challenges I think that one would find. And so what we really have been committed to is making, and creating the best of both worlds. So Excel is still very much used by, 1.1 billion offices, just all, Microsoft users all over the world. And it really is a functionally rich tool. And Microsoft have also improved and are, increasingly improving its use case as well. And so it really has become a lot more flexible and also collaborative as well. So from our side, our product is Flash. Is Flash reports. And so what we do is we seamlessly integrate, QBO
Hey,
data to
Chris,
Excel. Yep.
Are you sharing your screen?
Yes. Are you able to see it?
Oh, it might just.
I can see it, Alicia.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. So let me just share it again. Can you see it now? Which one are you seeing?
Oh, I'm seeing the deck.
If everybody else can see it, you go ahead.
Okay. Are you seeing the deck, Likith?
Yes.
Yep. So basically, there is just, so we're focused on Microsoft Excel and in integrating Microsoft Excel, to to QBO, and then let's just resume share there. I think, can you see it again now? Okay. Yep. So if you can see there, and so just in terms of, the product is essentially an immediate install, where you can, it's plug and play. You can go to our website, subscribe, you install it, and you subscribe the add-in, and you can run essentially your first report. And so just very quickly, there's a couple of customers. It's basically a variety of industries, and our most prominent use cases is very much, I will say, where there's multi-entity reporting. So for franchises, I think they have multiple areas where they need to report on, or multiple entities they want to combine. There's some unique, say 445 monthly reporting. I think in property management, the classes reporting where they maybe need to break up and do various calculations, or stepped income statement, common area, let's say maintenance calculations. And then in the construction side, it's also profitability reporting. And just to be able to see, let's say, cost estimation or overhead calculations where, we can essentially refresh the data just directly here in Microsoft Excel. And so I think with that, let me quickly jump over here, and I just want to show you, just a brief demo. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes, just do for 3 or 5 minutes here. And so Alicia, can you see my screen at the moment? So you should just be seeing Excel. Can you see that?
Good.
Okay. All right. So very quickly, so this is an Excel add-in. So it's a lightweight Excel add-in. You essentially just download it, from the Microsoft Store. So the product is actually called Flash. So you just basically go into, I want to say, the home screen, there's Flash, you click add, and then what that enables is essentially this add-in here into Microsoft Excel. And as I mentioned, it's a direct connection to QBO. And so we can actually connect multiple companies. In my example over here, I've got 3 companies that I've got connected. And I'm not maybe going to connect it now, but yeah, so basically you can connect multiple companies. In this little pre-built report that I've got here, essentially this is a multi-entity report. And, so here I've got 3 companies, just column B, C, and D. And how our software essentially operates is it's a formula-based approach. And essentially what it does is it just makes use of cell referencing to populate the parameters that are needed in order to refresh, in order to, say, populate our formula, which when executed, when we refresh that, it essentially then passes a query over to QBO, finds the results, and then brings it back directly here into Microsoft Excel. So I should not actually have clicked that one there now. And so what that then does is then, I might just actually have to log on to there again. I think I actually just exited there. But yeah, so essentially, let me just start up Excel here. There's the multi-entity. I'm just going to refresh the values over here. I might just have to quickly sign on here again. we'll just give this a second here to load here. But yeah, so this is essentially how the connection works here to, to QBO. So it's a live connection to QBO. And then, when we actually press this refresh button, just over here, that passes our queries over to QuickBooks Online. And as we can see here on my right-hand side, just what I have here is some performance tiles, which actually just refreshes, as I refresh data. And as I mentioned, that this is the formula-based approach, so essentially here, my formula is referencing all these cells over here. And so when I refresh or when I recalculate, or if I change any of these parameters over here, so, at the moment I'm pulling in last year's data, I can just go and change that to this year. And as we can see now, all these cells here are essentially refreshing and pulling in a new set of data. And so the benefit of this is essentially that, I can do it, let's say, for last quarter as well. So this is also using, we'll say, the parameters and the dates as they are, within QBO. But, if I refresh this data, it all refreshes, brings these values back directly into Microsoft Excel. So the benefit here is that, within your Excel report is that your whole structure and everything is maintained, even if you pull in a new set of data. On my left-hand side here, I can very much just see I'm using standard, Excel groupings, just to expand and collapse different rows. And as I open these up, there we can see now this is essentially a whole, just an income statement, per P&L. Very quickly, I just want to show you, if I wanted to build a totally new report, I can come here and then just bring in, using build a template using my just using my template builder on my right-hand side. There we can see that formula there again, right? So I'm basically referencing your company, your dates, everything else. And the last thing is just, it's so easy to just build, just a, any type of comparison report. So there, for example, I've got last year, but I can compare, actual versus budget. I can then just quickly pull in some budget values. But then in your report here, just very much standard practice, right? Let's just say I can build, standard Excel and incorporate standard Excel values, into these things. And so you can incorporate columns, rows. I can also, let's say, insert any type of rows here and do any additional type of calculations, for any type of parameter that I want here. Let's just say I could have done maybe a percentage calculation over there. That is, sorry, maybe meant to do that. You can copy that over. And then just when you actually bring, refresh a new set of data, anything that you've done is maintained. And if, for example, in this, if you want to have details as to that, you can just click on the drill down button and then see down the lower level details, right, in terms of the drill down of, what's available to you. And, in this example, this is, we'll say, almost drilling down to the details. There's our 504, that reconciles to that number over there. So it's just a very flexible, interface, or app that you can use, right, just to, get those balances directly out of Microsoft Excel. Can, as I mentioned, can work with report on projects, classes, departments, locations. And yeah, so I think, Alicia, thank you. And today we're very happy, and thankful to be sponsors here for, for the insightful webinar today. And thank you, Alicia.
Okay.
Back over
Chris,
to you.
we actually have a couple questions in the Q&A for you. Does this work with all subscription levels in QuickBooks Online?
It does. Yes. Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
so you don't just need advanced. That's nice.
Yes, it's with any subscription level. Yep.
Okay, excellent. And then Rich asks, do the accounts in the member companies have to have the exact same account names?
So yeah, so basically we haven't yet released, but we are, so if it's multi-entity reporting, basically, so this assumes that there is exact account names. What's coming in a future release is where we're looking at basically building a standardized chart of accounts, or I'll say, building up a standardized chart of accounts. But so they basically, the formula does expect, an exact account name that's related to that specific QBO entity.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much. This is really interesting. I have some clients who I think this would be really great for, so I will look forward to sharing this with them. And then Miriam has also asked, what's the pricing?
That's just on our website. So basically, I think there, you can just head to our website. It's like $15 a month, so, but yeah, so just, I think it's just to head to our website, and, all the details are here at, just fanaticalsoftware.com.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Alicia.
Okay. All right. So Cheska, go ahead and run the next poll. Okay. And how often do you export data from QuickBooks Online to Excel? Frequently, occasionally, or rarely? Let us know. Okay, and let's have everybody answer the poll pretty quick because we want to get into the meat of our session for today about revenue recognition. So go ahead and answer that poll, and then we will go ahead and dive in. All right, so are you a frequent exporter, an occasional exporter, or rarely? And it used to be for me never, and all of a sudden it's become frequent for me. So, excellent.
Yeah, leave it up for 5 more seconds for everybody to get their stuff in. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right.
Excellent. All right, so most of you are frequently, lots of occasionallys, and only about 20% rarely integrate with Excel. All right, so now let's dive into our section about revenue recognition. So we're going to first take a look at how to turn it on. Then we're going to look at how to invoice a product using revenue recognition and viewing the recognition schedule, and then also take a look at the revenue recognition reports. And so I'm going to be presenting, and Likith is in the background doing Q&A for us as well. So the first thing that we need to actually talk about is what is deferred revenue. And so deferred revenue is used in accrual-based accounting. And so you don't really need it in cash-based accounting, although if you're modified cash, maybe you want to use both. It really stems from the GAAP accounting regulation 606, so that you're in compliance. And what deferred revenue allows you to do is that if you take payments in lump sums, but it's really for a service that's throughout the year, then that's deferred revenue. Or maybe you're taking it now, but you're not going to recognize the income until sometime down the line. That's another example of deferred revenue. And so basically you're looking at any time that you have lump sum payments now, but the services are being provided later or in several different chunks, essentially. Some of the examples of deferred revenue, I've got 5 different use cases here. A common one, a frequent one, is subscription-based services. And so that's when you have an annual membership, but you don't want to just see all the revenue in January. You want to be able to see it broken out across all 12 months. Or maybe it's a software payment. You're not getting it in January, you're getting it midway through the year. But again, instead of one big lump sum, you want to be able to see it parsed out across all of the usage for the client over time. Sometimes it's project-based work where you have a contractor or project-oriented company where they're getting an upfront payment, but they don't want to actually recognize that revenue until after that specific part of the project has been done. And then another one is consulting services, where you are paid a retainer, but then you don't actually recognize the revenue until after the whole job is complete. And same thing with e-commerce, same kind of thing, where you are getting the payment in advance, but you don't recognize it until after the product is delivered. So think to yourself, how can my clients take advantage of this? Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is set up revenue recognition. Rev Rec is only in QBO Advanced. So if you're not using QuickBooks Online Advanced, but this feature would be helpful to you, this is a good sign that you're ready to upgrade to QBO Advanced. And so what you do, and instead of doing it on the slide, I'm actually going to go in and show it to you. So this is a sample file. And I'm going to go into the accountant settings. Now, here's an Easter egg, because I know we've got some pros on here. Instead of going to accountant settings from the gear and accountant settings, did you know that you can actually click on the company name and it takes you into account and settings? So if that's something that you have not seen before and you think that's super cool, let us know in the chat. Okay, so now I'm going to head over to sales over on the left-hand side. And then we're going to go down to the products and services section. So all of the revenue recognition is based on the products that are going on the form. So it's not about the accounts and it's not about the forms, it's about the product lines themselves. So we go into revenue recognition right here, and there's a little slider for it. And once you turn it on for the first time, you have a choice on your frequency of it being recognized every single month or every single day. So depending on your use case, maybe you want to parse it into a daily breakdown. So I'm going to go ahead and save that and close my settings. Your next step is to set up your products and services. And when you're literally in the product, you actually turn on the revenue recognition check mark. And then you determine which account is going to hold the deferred revenue. So deferred revenue is a traditional name, so that's usually what you'll use. And then you'll specify the duration and the interval. So let's go take a look at that. So I'm going to go into sales and over to products and services. And I have some of these already set up. Now, my file is all about superheroes. So I'm going to show you a heroic deed. So I'm going to go ahead and edit one that I already have set up. When you scroll down into the sales section, where you specify the income account, for example, here's the check mark for recognizing. I'm going to go ahead and leave it on. You turn on, I recognize revenue for this product. And that monthly right here is stemming from that other section that we saw in the settings. So right now, different products all have to be on that same kind of schedule. There aren't multiple schedules. Then you specify the liability account. You're only going to have one other current liability for all of the revenue recognition. You don't want to have multiples. I mean, maybe you have a reason to, but generally it's just one. As I mentioned, deferred revenue is a default name for it, but you could call it revenue. I don't know if I would call it revenue recognition. That doesn't really make sense on a balance sheet. So deferred revenue it is. Then this is specific to the product. What's the service duration? I'm breaking this down as if it's a monthly service over a year. So it will be split up over 12 months. But notice that you can also break it up into years and that you can do it up through 10 years. So I'm going to leave this on a monthly split. So basically, again, I'm working off of an annual subscription here. Okay, and Likith suggests that unearned revenue is another account that is commonly used here. So unearned revenue would be another one, especially if you have works in progress. All right, I'm going to go ahead and not going to save my changes on that. Actually, sure, I will. Okay. So that's setting up the product. So you would go through and you would do that for all of the services that you want to use this revenue recognition in. All right. So next is actually using the invoices and sales receipts to take in the revenue. So you would, just as normal, create an invoice or create a sales receipt and put the product in that sales receipt. Now, the key here is that you do have to turn on the service date. And I should have actually done that in the settings. So let's take a look at that. So just going back into the settings real quick to show you that. I'm going to go in the normal way, accountant settings, and in sales, I did not mention that your service date has to be turned on. And notice it even here says service date is required when using revenue recognition.
Yeah, we made a small change, Alicia, where if you turn on the revenue recognition, it automatically turns on the service date so that you don't have to do two different settings. So
Excellent. High five, because that was not here when I was rehearsing even a couple days ago. So thank you for making that change. Excellent. Okay, good. So back to where I was. I'm going to go ahead and I actually have a sales receipt saved. So I'm going to go open up one of my existing sales receipts, but of course you could just add a new row that has it. So we've got the service date right here. So that is the start date for the revenue recognition. And then you put in the product right here. And then you set how much they're paying in the one big lump sum. When you click off of it, now there's a new link here that says view revenue recognition. So I'll click on that. And now we can see the schedule for how this is going to get recognized. And you can see here that I started this actually in October. And I did that intentionally for this demonstration so that you can see how it changes, that it's breaking it down for here's the 1/12 of the total amount that was recognized in October, November, December, and then forward until the end of the schedule right there. And it always recognizes the revenue on the last day of the month. So you won't see the transactions until the month rolls, and then it will show up in the recognition schedule and move it from the deferred revenue account or the liability account into your income account. Some other things that you can do here while you're right inside the product. If I click on one of the months, it opens up and shows me the audit history for it. And so here you can see the debits and the credits behind the scenes where it's taking 1/12 of that $2,000 and it's moving it out of deferred revenue and into sales. So there's the audit history on the transaction that happened in October. Also, if for any reason you want to change the schedule, you can click on edit and then it turns it in so that you can actually manually adjust these. You know, I don't know why you would want to skip a particular month, but if you wanted to edit any one of these, then you can change it. So maybe you don't do it every month. Maybe you want, 0, 0, and then 3 months worth. You can have that kinds of flexibility. There's also an auto balance entry right here. And what auto balance does is if you make a change to the schedule, if it's on, it will go ahead and update all the remaining periods. If it's off, then it will only update the things that you make changes to. This is new. And then I'm going to go ahead and make sure auto balance is on. And then down at the bottom, the other thing that I want to show you is under more actions, you can also just decide to recognize the whole thing now. So even if you had the schedule set up and you're like, oh, I just want to see this one time, you can recognize the entire schedule all at once. And look, if I didn't say that right, please do chime in and let me know. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to make any changes. I'm just going to go ahead and click apply. I also want to point out that there is feedback right inside here. So if you have a particular use case that Intuit hasn't thought of yet, if you click on give feedback inside the revenue recognition tool, that goes to the guy who's in this webinar with us. He is the person who responds to all that feedback. And they've been fantastic about anything that I've wanted to add to the conversation or add to the features. So this is how to take the revenue and how to set the schedules. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a poll. Cheska, can you do me the honors? Okay, so we are interested in knowing exactly what you want to see in these QB talks. So are you interested in beginning level QBO training, intermediate level QBO training, QuickBooks Online Advanced features like this, since a lot of the development is going to QuickBooks Online Advanced? Do you want to hear about Intuit News and Analysis? Do you want more app spotlights like we saw earlier? let us know what kinds of learning you would like. We probably should have done check marks on this instead of just pick one, but whatever's most popular is what we will lean into. So go ahead and answer that one, and then we will get into the reporting on revenue recognition. And Likith, do you have anything that you want to add to what I've said so far?
No, Alicia, I think you pretty much covered everything. There are a couple of questions that are popping up, which I will answer.
Okay. If you want to share any of that Q&A, I would love to bring it forward. Everybody.
One of them is, why are you posting only on the last day of the month? The answer is that is the most common way everybody closes their books on the last day of the month, because that's a closing period. But of course, there are some customers who do it differently, and we do have plans to improvise and provide that customization. As of today, posting monthly is the only option that we provide.
Okay, excellent. Good, thank you. All right, go ahead and get that poll that poll closed, and then we will continue on. Okay, I want to see the answer. Can you put the answer up to that? All right, so intermediate QBO training and QBO advanced features are the two most popular, kind of neck and neck, and then interesting split. Those two are neck and neck, and then beginning level Intuit News and App Spotlights all are also equal. So we will try and work this into our presentations. Great, thanks everybody. Okay, one of the questions came up that somebody wanted to see the revenue recognition set up again, and again, just turning it on happens inside account and settings. Is the first place. So you're in the sales section, and then there's a toggle under products and services to go ahead and turn it on. And then you only get one choice for all of the revenue recognition for whether it's daily or monthly. And then again, when you're in a product or service and you edit that product or service, you have the option in QBO Advanced that you can put a check mark in front of revenue recognition, and then you can specify a different liability account if you don't want them all in one account for some reason. And then each product can have its own schedule. So the schedule would be across months and years, and you can, recognize it. You can get creative. Instead of every month, I want to recognize it every 3 months, for example. Okay. And so Gina's asking, there's no recognition on a quarterly basis. If you wanted it quarterly, then you would go ahead and say every 3 months, and then that becomes a quarterly recognition.
Yeah, so this is the total duration of the service, Alicia. Mm-hmm. And then there is also how frequently you're going to post that number. I think probably Gina's question is around, today you post monthly, but I guess she wants to post it quarterly.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, we did hear about that, Gina. We are planning to improve that experience there, not just quarterly. We also heard bi-weekly, quarterly, like different scenarios. We are planning to improve that, but as of today, we do not have that.
Okay. I mean, this session is actually great for you guys to hear what other people's needs are in other use cases. So please keep asking those questions. That's fantastic. Okay. All right. So now, so I already showed you the customizing of the revenue recognition, where you open it up literally on the particular invoice. And so you can have every single customer or every single charge have its own recognition schedule, including changing the price. Okay, now tracking the progress. So there's actually several different ways of doing this. There is a specific dedicated revenue recognition report that I'm going to show you. I'm also going to show you the deferred revenue register, and then I have a custom report that I like to run. So I'm going to show you all of these. So I'm going to go over to reports. I actually never scroll around looking for the reports, so I always use a shortcut to get there. So revenue recognition, where do you live? Okay, I'm going to get there the way that I'm used to getting there with is just by going ahead and searching. So now there's the revenue recognition report. And so I'll go ahead and run that. So this is the built-in report inside the system. It's doing the report for this year, but a lot of the time your revenue recognition may loop across multiple years. So you might have to customize that. I'm going to go ahead for the sake of this demo and change it to all dates or custom dates. Let's actually just go to all dates. So this is all the revenue recognition in the system. And this is split up by month. That way you can see each of the transactions and the revenue that got recognized that particular month. So of a $20,000 invoice, 1666.67 is getting recognized every single month. And then of this invoice, the following month, 2000, that is now getting added. So every time you add a new one, you're going to be able to see the culmination or the cumulative grand total. And then here you can see another one got added here in a couple months later. And so every month it's just getting bigger and bigger as you have new clients. Okay. And if we go to the group right now, the revenue recognition is by month, but here you can also break it down by other ones. So like Gina had asked about quarters, let's go ahead and run that by quarter. It's not really changing the revenue recognition, but what it is changing here is the grouping of it so that you can see how much revenue was recognized now by quarter instead. So slightly different way of looking at that report.
If we can scroll to the right, Alicia, there's also a deferred column, which has the unrecognized amount. So for that particular invoice, I think where your cursor is right now, you only recognize $166, but there's the pending amount, which is shown in the last column.
Now, this is super nice because by the time you get down here, you can see with that $20,000 one, when it started, it had $18,000 left. And then by the time you get down towards the end, you're down to just what's remaining as they drop off. That's great. Okay, good. And let me look under the group. Is there any others here that I want to call out? So another way that you could do it is grouping it by the recognition date itself, which is a whole different way of looking at this. And so there you go. Okay, so that's the built-in reports. Anything else that you want to add about the built-in reports, Likith?
No, Alicia, I think you pretty much covered everything. And of course, this report is customizable as per your needs.
Okay. And here it is. You can even see it right on the top under the custom report builder. Okay, now I myself have a different way of looking at it, and this is where I lean in. And I went ahead and I pre-built this report to show you, but I like to see my deferred revenue by customer sometimes. So what I did in this report is I made a report. Oh, actually, I kind of have to show you how I built it. Okay, hang on a second. So what I did is I go into the balance sheet. And I'm going to change my balance sheet to all dates and go ahead and run that. Then I look for my deferred revenue account, which is down here under the liabilities. And it's a liability because you haven't done the work to earn it yet. So that's why it's sitting there. I'll drill in. And now it gives me a list of all of my deferred revenue transactions in my entire system. And of course, you could have a specific date range, but I want to show you kind of everything that I have in my sample file. But now what I'm going to do is instead of grouping this by account on deferred revenue, what I am actually going to do is group this by customer instead. Now, what that does is it allows me to see the revenue recognition schedule for each of the clients that I have in the system. And so that now shows me the whole amount of the invoice and then all of the revenue that has been recognized so far to date. And then when this gets down to zero, you know that that person has fully recognize all of that revenue. So that is one of the ways that I manage this. Okay, think over there. All dates, group by customer. Okay. Let me go back over to the reports over here. Now, what I do is I go ahead and I save that report so that I have a report for deferred revenue by customer, and then I can call it up anytime. So this is a good one to save. Now, I'm actually going to go back to my wish list about this one. This is a conversation that I've had with Likith a couple times, is that I have this wish list that I can then go into the deferred revenue liability and reconcile it. So let me show you what I mean. Let's just first look at the account register before I get into my wish list for it. So when I look at my chart of accounts, here's my deferred revenue liability. So this is another place where you might want to go to look at the deferred revenue. And what's nice about seeing it this way is now you have the chronology from when the invoice was created, and then you can see each one happening in its own schedule. Of course, it is happening at the end of the month, so you're going to generally see your transaction dates whenever they actually happened, and then the revenue recognition, all of these are all on that very last day. So you can really see what's happening in the account as it rolls. Now, I have this fantasy, I've been talking to Likith about this, that I would love to be able to reconcile this to zero. Now, at the moment, this doesn't work. So I'm putting this in here as a hope for things to come. But this is how I treat my, even if it's not available in this tool, the reason why I'm talking about it now, even though it's not specific to revenue recognition, is this is just kind of a suggestion for one of the things I do to keep my reports accurate and whole. So someday we're going to be able to go in and reconcile this. So here's the $2,000 charge, and here are all the transactions that made it up, so that you reconcile it to zero and you show that that schedule is whole and complete. And I do this in other liability accounts so that when I go back to my report, and again, this doesn't work, the tool is still really new. Revenue recognition has been around for how long? Look at like less than a year, right?
Year, yeah. Mm-hmm.
About a year.
Close to a year, yep. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so, I can't expect it to be all things to all people yet, but, that's why we love developers. So the reason why I am including this here is more of an advanced QBO technique, that one of the things that I like to do in my reports is filter it. And I filter for cleared status, that the transactions are ones that are uncleared, meaning not reconciled. And what that does is it filters the report down to just the transactions that are still active. So I know that we can't do it with revenue recognition, but if you have other liabilities like your sales tax liability and your payroll liabilities, if you go in and reconcile those to zero, then when you run a report, you can filter for just the ones that are unreconciled, and then you see the things that are still pending. So it's a very, very powerful technique. Okay, let's go back to Q&A. Likith, do you want to pick up? We've got some question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before I answer the question, so on the reconciliation, we are actively working on it. I was also validating if it's only a superhero thing where only Alicia does it, or if this is a common need. But yes, we are working on it, and we did hear from other customers as well, and we should have it soon.
Okay, excellent.
All right. So going to Gina's question, yes. So in the case of if somebody cancels service before the 2 months, you have two options. One of it is you can, I think Alicia partially showed that recognize now button, which is like you're closing the schedule right away. So when you close the schedule, what happens is you recognize all the amount into the current month, which gives you an opportunity to issue a credit memo or a refund receipt. So if you do not do that and issue a credit memo or a refund receipt, your schedule would be running continuously until whatever that time is. So we're giving this opportunity to just close up the schedules and issue a credit memo or refund receipt. Of course, you can also use your edit option if you want to have a customized way of closing your books. In the case of credit memo, that's also an option, but this is probably an easier option for you.
Okay, so this takes the whole thing then as income now, ignores the whole rest of the schedule, and then you can make any other adjustments to services as you need to. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct.
Okay, excellent. All right. And Tim has a comment, would be even better if you can group by customer and agreement number. Oh, that's interesting. You probably could. I'd have to get creative and try and do it on the fly. But Tim, I would imagine that after you've grouped your report by customer, that you can then also apply a sort and sort it by the invoice number. That probably will work if you have a client with more than one revenue recognition going at a time. Okay. Give us some more questions or anything that you have want to see again. We do have a few minutes left. And yeah, let us know what other questions that you want to cover. Everybody's quiet. So how about feedback? Go ahead and tell us, is this something that you could use? Is it something that, have you seen it before? Does it look like something that would be really great for you to recommend to your clients? Let's get some feedback about how people feel about it as well. Would also be really helpful to us, because this is your opportunity to speak to the senior program PM project manager for it. So this is a great opportunity to let Intuit know what you would like to see this tool do. Okay, everybody's quiet. All right, I'm going to go in and I'm going to try Tim's experiment there about that report that I just ran and see if I can sort it by that. Okay, so Christine says that she had tried using it for a client, but it was still too early in the setup, but it would be great to utilize. It's been really amazing how it's come over the last year. I was kind of an early adopter and found things that I wasn't able to do, like what happens if I had a refund. And so Likith was great to work with so that we could work on that use case, and that's how that revenue recognition came to be. Okay.
And also we are trying to improve both the way it works and also add more features going forward. So look forward for more improved experience.
Mm-hmm. Right, I'm going to try actually Tim's suggestion here. Can we now sort this by number in ascending order? So Tim, it looks like it does work, that once you have the sales receipt, all of that recognition schedule, the number has now been added. So it's the original invoice number and then the recognition dates. So you do have that ability to group them all together. So that is absolutely fabulous. Oh, this is great. Mariko has posted a whole key takeaways there. So you can go ahead and copy that out of the webinar chat. All right. And Marcia says that she'd like to see more of the features, exclusive to the advanced version offered in lower subscription levels. Well, my commentary on that is Intuit is pretty much trying to put all the really cool advanced level stuff in QuickBooks Online Advanced. And if you had asked me 3 years ago, I was like, well, I don't have any clients who need advanced for much. And now there's so much cool stuff that QBO Advanced does, either with accrual accounting or batch techniques, that I am fairly frequently recommending QuickBooks Online Advanced, where I didn't think I had any clients in the past who needed it. But now between the advanced reporting and the performance center and the batch transactions and spreadsheet sync and deferred revenue and fixed assets, there's so much here to love for sure.
There's another question that popped up, Alicia, about uploading a spreadsheet. I think if I'm understanding this question correctly from Bobby, she has existing work that is in the spreadsheet and she wants to transfer that process. So yes, we did hear about this, Bobby. We are working on it. We had a partial solution place, and we'll plan to roll it as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So when that happens, we'll create like a dummy schedule or something like that for the past, and then we'll create the future schedules whenever you're creating the invoices.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about that, but that makes a whole lot of sense because before this tool existed, you were recognizing it somewhere and then probably making journal entries for it. So you do need a starting point. That's great, Bobby. Thank you.
Yeah. The only drawback would be when you're doing it for all your past transactions, those are your journal entries. Those are not revenue recognition transactions. So you won't be able to drill into the product and customer level, because journal entry is pretty much a blanket adjustment. But for anything that you do within the QuickBooks, you have that granularity of reporting on the product, on this, like all the details that you were seeing in the report.
Okay, so this makes a really huge improvement then over the way that we've always been doing it. Okay, cool. So let's give you some additional resources. There is an article on revenue recognition in Intuit's support website. I had originally pasted it in here, but it was like 4 lines long and there was no way to get it to you. So if you just go into the QuickBooks support website, then and search for revenue recognition, you'll see it. Even if you just Google revenue recognition in QuickBooks Online, boom, it'll take you straight to Intuit's support page for it. We have also been mentioning occasionally that Insightful Accountant is working on a new LMS system, and so we're not quite up and running with it, but we are getting really close. And there's a couple courses in there that will be relevant to this material once it's up and running. The Next Level Accounting course and the QuickBooks Online Advanced course will both have some of this content inside it. Okay. Oh, before we finish up, Bobby is asking, do you have an estimated time frame for that recognizing of the past schedule?
Yeah, I do not at this point, but we will update you as soon as we have it.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right. I do want to make an announcement. If you'd permit me, I do have a new QuickBooks Online book that just got published on Amazon this week. It's a basic guide to QuickBooks Online. So if you are a beginner, if you're moving over from desktop, or you have clients that you're setting up with QuickBooks Online, it's a great hands-on desk reference where you can just look up how to do an invoice, and it shows you everything about about doing invoices and best practices. It's used by SBDCs for QBO courses. So if you provide training to your clients, then this would be a great book for you to actually use as a guide in your classes. So you can buy copies for yourself, for your clients, and we also do wholesale as well. So, we've had people gift them to their clients, and so you can buy them from us for cheaper than Amazon. Okay. Easiest way to get there is to just go to Amazon.com and search for Alicia Katz Pollock or QuickBooks Online from setup to tax time, and that will take you to the book. So note that way the cover looks, and then you'll know that you're on the right book. All right. We need to wrap it all up. So Cheska, can you give us our last poll? Okay. Let us know if you want CPE for today's training. So you can give us a yes or a no. And while you are working on that last CPE poll, the interesting comment from Charles that I wanted to share from everybody, that he understands that Intuit wants to push everyone to advanced, but not everyone needs to go there because the price point's too high for small clients. And so keep in mind that QuickBooks Online Advanced is not meant to be the go-to subscription for all of your clients. You want to pick the right subscription for that client, whether it's Simple Start or Essentials or Plus or Advanced. Not everybody needs Advanced. If it's a nonprofit, they should totally go with Advanced, because if they get it through TechSoup.org, it only costs $200 for the year instead of $200 a month. But when you do have clients that are accrual-based, and revenue recognition would be helpful, and advanced reporting would be helpful, and spreadsheet sync would be helpful, all of a sudden that $200 becomes a bargain. And so it's the right tool for the right job. So that's kind of what I have to say about that. All righty, let's go ahead and finish up that poll. And we will get you your CPE certificates.
All right, I'm gonna leave it up for
so-
about like 5 more seconds.
Okay, so thank you everybody for coming, and we will see you again in April.
All right. Okay. Right before we close out this webinar, remember that we have many webinars for you every month, and you can check those out over on our educational webinars page. And do not forget to check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel and newsletter so that you don't miss out on news and updates and webinars that impact today's accounting professional. And please answer a post-webinar survey that will pop up after the webinar so that we over at Insightful Accountant can further improve our webinars and really give you what you guys want. And we'll see you again next month for the next QB Talks. Thanks, everybody, and have a good day.